It's another episode about crack cycles, and today we're going to be reviving an Ironhead Sportster. This is a bike that was sitting for, I have no idea, honestly. I have absolutely no history of this bike. I bought it as a product of a divorce, and yeah, it looks like someone was working on it. Someone had gotten started on it, but like lost steam, lost interest, lost knowledge. I don't really know. I don't know what's wrong with it. So I'm going to dig into it and hopefully have it running by the end of the episode. And along the way, I'll show y'all just like some common stuff to do to old bikes that have been sitting for a long time. So if you've bought an old Harley and it's been sitting around for years and you don't really know where to start, this will be an episode kind of as a primer for that. Hope you learned something. Hope you're entertained. Hope you enjoyed it. Let's get right into it. So I thought I'd take just a second and show y'all our victim today. This is a 74 Sportster. Obviously, it's an Ironhead engine, 1000cc Ironhead Sportster engine. This is an XLH. You'll notice it is electric start only. I kind of like this thing. Looks pretty good. Hardly paid anything for it. Clean title, numbers match between the frame and the engine and the title. So this will be a bike that I fix up, and you can see the leaves are starting to change color. It's getting towards the end of October now. Kenneth's here helping me. Say, hey, Kenny. And yeah, this will be something we fix up and then have for sale in the springtime. So let's dive right into it, and I'll show y'all kind of my logical progression of where to start on an old Harley like this, but it's been sitting a long time. So the first place I start on most old bikes is electrical stuff. This can be a make or break for many bikes. The electrical on this didn't look too bad. That handlebar switch was missing. The biggest sin here was that the battery was installed backwards. You can see that's the positive terminal of the battery, and it goes to the ground cable. And once I pulled the battery out, hooked a voltmeter up to it, found it only had 9.5 volts roughly. I tried putting a battery charger on this thing, but my little smart battery charger wouldn't even attempt to charge it. It was so low. So I ended up just taking it and turning it in as a core and buying a brand new battery. So I'm already, $100 in this thing with a brand new battery, but it's really not too big of a deal. Obviously, this is one of the old school style lead acid batteries, so you got to pour your battery acid in yourself, which Kenneth thought was pretty cool, and he learned something about batteries and about acid and, to put some gloves on and everything. Anyways, once we had that in and hooked up correctly, I turned the key on and was pleasantly surprised here. Found that the generator oil pressure lights came on. Also discovered that we had lights on this thing, which is sweet. Headlights work, high beams and low beams. Turn signals are not operational on this bike, but no big deal. Next thing was to check the oil. These are dry sump engines like pretty much any Harley, so you want to make sure that it hasn't sumped. If the oil is missing out of the tank, there's a really good chance it's down in your crankcase, but we still had all the oil in the oil tank, and it didn't look too bad. So I pulled the air cleaner off and wanted to be able to get in there to look at the carburetor, verify that the choke was operating correctly, and that when you rolled the throttle plate would open and, more importantly, come all the way back closed. So once that was established, it was time to pull the spark plugs out so we could do a compression test. This is always a great idea on any old unknown bike. Side note, this thing still had some Harley Davidson plugs in it that looked fairly old, actually. Who knows? So screwed the compression tester stuff in, hooked it all up, and then obviously your procedure for doing a compression test is hold the throttle wide open and crank the engine over until the compression reading stops building. But when I went to start this thing, you can see right here, nothing. Just push the button and nothing happens. So I got the voltmeter out and found that the switch was bad, and then you probably shouldn't do this, but I jumped the switch with the voltmeter probe, just make sure the starter would read. I ended up with around 100 psi of compression on both cylinders, so then I stuck a screwdriver in the spark plug leads to see if we had spark, and we did. So with all of that established, I wanted to see would this thing try and run if you gave it a little fuel. So a little booger sugar down the chute there, and turned the key on and grabbed a little wrench and just spun it over. Shocked myself a little bit too. And yeah, you can hear it tries. So that was enough to give me the confidence to keep going on this. I grabbed my little test fuel run jug, whatever you want to call it. This is just something I've cobbled up myself, but it's really super useful for getting old bikes going. Just put some gas in it, and then you can feed fuel to the carburetor and know that you have a good clean source of external fuel. And here I'm checking for accelerator pump spray, which I had none on this carburetor, but that's no big deal. I usually run the idle speed up just a hair on any bike that I'm trying to start for the first time. I find that that helps kind of keep it running if you let it high idle. Give her a little bit more ether just for good measure, and then close the choke. I set this probably around 90% choke, and then it was time to start her up again. So it runs. Doesn't run the best, but it does run. Probably needs a carb rebuild. It's got a K-hen butterfly on it. Those are pretty simple and easy to rebuild. Some of my favorite carbs, actually. There's one on my Ironhead Sportster. Some people don't like them, but I sure do. Probably do a valve adjustment on this thing as well, and then it needs a starter button. I kept having to jump it out with a screwdriver or a little small wrench. Um, Honestly, for the purposes of, what I'm doing with this, that's really all I'm going to throw at this. We'll throw a starter button in it. We'll rebuild the carburetor. I will clean the gas tank out. It's kind of grungy inside, but I think it's salvageable. Fill it up with like some turpentine or something. Drop a little small piece of chain in there. Shake it up and just flush it out. And yeah, the bike has some Lester 7-spoke mags on it. I'm actually going to take those off and sell those separately. And then I've got a set of spoked wheels that'll fit this bike that are laying here next to me in the pile of parts that came with it. Um, so yeah, once my new shop's finished, y'all will watch me do a little bit of work to this thing. We'll put it together. It's missing the shifter over on the other side. I've got like 4 of them laying around here now. So we'll throw that on. No front brakes are on this thing currently either. So we need to put a master cylinder on it as well. My little list keeps getting longer and longer. But really, it won't be too much work or too many parts or too much time to have this thing in the kind of shape to where a prospective buyer can show up at my house, crank this thing up, go take it around the block, make sure that it runs, rides, shifts, and stops. It'll still need some work. It's going to be sold as basically a ride at home project, which is how I sell a lot of bikes. But we're ahead now, right? It didn't run when we started. Now it does. So hopefully this was useful. I hope you all learned something. This should be like a pretty quick, straightforward, simple episode about like a basic troubleshooting procedure as far as you get a bike, you don't know the history of it, where should you start? Last thing, sometimes it's a good idea to put like a little Marvel Mystery Oil or something down the cylinders. I didn't show that on camera, but I took a little bit ATF, and after I did that compression test, squirted just a few drops down, and the compression numbers came up, which kind of shows you that you've got some ring wear. Um, I'm not wild about the amount of compression this bike has, but it is at least enough to run. So we'll take it, right? Right. All right. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. See y'all on the next episode. Bye.